is Just a Thought. This is episode number 21. I let my 2-year-old drive my car. Hey everybody. Hello. A few months ago, I asked my hubby to go out to the storage shed and bring in a bag of wheat. He said he would in a few minutes, and when he got up to do it, my daughter asked, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, going out to get rice from the chicken coop or something or other. Then, remembering what he was doing, he continued, "Actually, I'm going to the shed to get a bag of wheat for Mom." And then he said something that I can relate to. He said, "Sometimes I just have to start talking and even say the wrong thing at first, and then I can say the right thing." And I thought to myself, yes, that is so true. That's how I feel too. So I'm so excited to be back, and I have a ton of thoughts I've been wanting to share with you. I took the last year off for some much needed pause time, and it's been so fulfilling. I have overcome some big thought blocks, anxiety, depression, and I have so many cool things to share. I'm ready to just start talking, and I'm ready to practice being okay with being terrible at it and even saying the wrong thing sometimes. So, in the meantime, thanks for being here. Hopefully I have something to say that helps or encourages you. Let's do this. I've said this before, and I'm going to say this again. I know some people take issue with this and don't believe it, but it's a thought that's so useful to me, so I'm going to explain it more. You are not responsible for anyone's emotions but your own. You're not responsible for your spouse or your parents or your children's. I believe that we're held accountable for our own goodness and our own sins. We're all given the gift of agency, and it gives us each the opportunity to think whatever we want and to make choices, to act, and to be acted upon. We have the grace of Christ that covers every wound or sin, allowing room for us to choose Him or not. And most of us have the opportunity to choose Him over and over throughout our lives, which brings peace, wholeness, and healing. Also, as Elder Orson F. Whitney described the fall as having a twofold direction, downward yet forward. It brought man into the world and set his feet upon progression's highway. We get to choose where we go on this highway. When we give someone else responsibility for our emotions, it's like letting them steer the car that we're driving. And sometimes we like to blame them for where our car ends up. Craig Berthold from the Full Cup podcast talks about this steering wheel analogy, and he teaches that we need to pull everyone's hands off our steering wheel. We need to stop giving them responsibility for our emotions. Jody Moore from Be Bold Life Coaching compares making others responsible for our emotions like giving a plant we care about to a small child and expecting them to take care of it. So by saying we're not responsible for others' emotions and that they're not responsible for ours, I am not saying that we stop listening to others' feelings. I'm not saying we aren't influenced by others. I'm also not saying that we need to allow others to say or do things to us or to others that we believe is wrong. We get to have our own opinions and own them and show up and react however we choose to. But it's easy to confuse whether someone is making us feel something or whether we are choosing to feel it. I hear people say a lot that their children make them happy, and it's totally fine to think that. But if we are being really intentional, we know that we are choosing to be happy because of what we are thinking about our children and what they do or don't do or say or don't say, what we make it mean about us. For example, sometimes our kids may do what we ask. Sometimes they might do or say things that they think will make us happy, that we've told them will make us happy. And sometimes we don't even notice them doing it right. We just assume that what they're doing or saying is how things should be done. So even as they're doing this thing that's supposed to make us happy, we might start nitpicking them about something else we want them to change. And we might still feel unhappy. No matter what they do or don't do, we can easily still feel unhappy with them. Or not. Maybe we do notice their effort and we're thrilled. But it's our thoughts that make us feel happy or unhappy, not the circumstance, which is what they do or say. And that goes for any relationship we have. Everyone outside of us is always our circumstance. What they say or do always goes in the C line of our model. They do something or say something, then we think thoughts about what they do. We bring story and meaning to why we think they said or did what they did, why we think it happened how it did. And we believe whatever we want. We may choose intentionally to feel sad because things didn't go as we hoped or expected. But it's not because of other people we feel sad. It's because of the meaning that we've given the circumstance. For example, this is one that I'm conscious of, right? Because we feel lots of things unconsciously. But I want to feel sad when my children hurt each other. I don't want to feel happy about it because I don't believe it's right to hurt each other. But I also don't want to be so enraged that I end up choosing to do something that hurts them because they hurt each other. I do want to be sad, and I also want to have compassion. And I do want to be curious so I can think of how I can teach them that this behavior is not appropriate in our family. And I go forward from there. But I claim my sadness. I claim my rage. I claim my curiosity. I claim my compassion. I claim my happy. The reason I bring all this up is I feel like it's so important to be intentional about how we choose to think and show up and really take accountability for it. It's like the time my mom left the car running while she ran into the school to drop something off, and my 2-year-old brother, who dinied out of his car seat, got the car in drive somehow and took my mom's car for a drive through the school parking lot. That was definitely not intentional on my mom's part, letting him drive her car, but he took the wheel that was available. I feel like my early momming years were like this, which is the whole reason why I choose to podcast and share my thoughts with you now, because I'm sure I'm not alone. I really struggled. I didn't know what my role was as a mom, and I left my steering wheel available for my kids to drive. I wanted to respect my children's autonomy. I wanted them to have their own thoughts and feelings and ideas. I wanted them to have their agency. I wanted them to have their own identity. And I didn't think I could give them those things and have rules and boundaries. I thought I was supposed to make them happy, and then they were supposed to make me happy. So I let them be in charge. I let them choose our family rules. I let them choose when we would come and go, and when they would go to bed, when and what they would eat. But worst of all, I let them be in charge of my moods and my reactions. I'd say things like, if you do that again, I'm going to be angry. It was terrible because I didn't want to be angry, but I didn't think there was any other choice. We were all tired from an inconsistent sleep schedule, and meltdowns happened a lot. And it wasn't just the kids melting down. Why weren't we all happy? I blamed them. If they would just listen to me and do what I wanted, do what I asked them to, if they didn't have different ideas than me, then we could all be happy, right? It was a mess. Parents, we are in charge. We are in charge of our moods, our reactions, and how we show up. We're in charge of what we do next. Our children's job is to test boundaries, to push and shove and make mistakes. And it's our job to teach them. If you review the family, A Proclamation to the World, it doesn't say anywhere in there that it's our job to lose it or yell or scream or force or manipulate or threaten. It says husbands and wives have a solemn responsibility to love and care for each other and for their children. Children are an heritage of the Lord. Parents have a sacred duty to rear their children in love and righteousness, to provide for their physical and spiritual needs, to teach them to love and serve one another, observe the commandments of God, and be law-abiding citizens wherever they live. As Craig puts it, if you're a parent, put your hands all over your child's steering wheel until they pull your hands off themselves. Be the parent. Sure, care. Sure, listen to their ideas. Be gentle and loving and firm. And know that your mood, your tone, your voice level, your boundaries or lack of them, your results are all on you. Thank goodness for the atoning grace of our Savior Jesus Christ. Because we're going to mess up. I like the ASL sign for the atonement. It seems to show the motion of me giving to Christ and Him taking my effort and giving me back His. This is why I want to try. I want to have something to give Him, however small and imperfect it may be, as He gives me back wholeness through the atonement. So that's why I try. That's why I choose to be intentional about how I show up. I heard it said in golf that the next shot is the most important one. I think it's true of life too. But back to the steering wheel idea. It's natural and healthy for us all to reach points in our lives when we need to pull our parents or our spouses or our children or anyone else we have unintentionally given our steering wheel to. We push their hands off and say, no, this is mine to drive. Craig talks a lot about this process, about emancipating, and that we need to do it to really claim our agency so that we can choose to follow the greatest commandments to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. It may seem like a selfish or unloving thing to do, but it's the only truly loving thing we can do. Of course, it's easy to worry that if we don't feel responsible for someone's happiness, that we'll just turn into super narcissistic mean people. And we probably will if we don't choose to be intentional and to show up with love. Agency is the gift that helps us truly obey the commandment to love. Loving is the next step to living a happy and free life after we emancipate from everyone. Pulling other people's hands off our steering wheel is a healthy and necessary thing humans need to do. Just like birds need to break out of their own shells in order to thrive and survive. So when it comes to your own steering wheel, it's up to you to be intentional about where you take your car. And you need to make sure you're not giving others the responsibility of your actions or your emotions. If someone does something and you feel sad, know that you are choosing the story of what they did means to you, and then you're choosing to feel sad. Someone else in the same circumstance could determine a different meaning and feel completely different. So, for example, a man could give his wife a vacuum for her birthday. This is a funny story because this happened to my friend. And it's a circumstance where all of us can have totally different thoughts about whether him giving her a vacuum was a good thing or a bad thing. Was that thoughtful? Was it sweet? Was it insulting? Was it unthoughtful? I'm going to let you come up with your own conclusions because my friend and I had completely different thoughts about that circumstance. And of course we did. Our different life experiences affect that as well as what we choose to make it mean. And that's as it should be. I think the key here is understanding that tools like the CTFAR model and other thought work are just that, tools. They help us to be more intentional about using our agency, creating our lives with God and being accountable for what we choose to think and do. It's not as random as we might think, and we have a lot more power than most of us are aware of. So that's my thought. Will you do this with me? Choose today to take back your steering wheel that might currently have 50 hands on it, affecting how you're feeling and acting and choosing to show up. Take them off and then decide what the next right thing is for you. You've got this. I'm your host, Christina Stead. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a disciple of Jesus Christ. He loves you. He loves me. And He loves us. This is Just a Thought, a podcast for parents ready to change their mind and change their lives.